Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai, and welcome to Jagadambe Reads the Holy Books of India, ShrimadBhagavatam92. As you may remember, the great meditator Bharata was sitting by the water when a piteous sight met his eyes. A deer had come to the banks of the river to drink water. All of a sudden, the roar of a lion was heard. The noise seemed to come from somewhere near. Frightened by the roar, which she knew was very near, the poor deer did not know which way to run. She had not even begun to drink the water for which she was thirsting. In despair, born of extreme terror, she tried to leap across the river. Because of her sudden panic, the little deer, which was unborn until then, fell into the river out of her body. The mother deer, when she reached the opposite bank, lay panting and crawled to a cave where, after a few moments, she died. Bharata, who had been watching the entire incident, was overcome with pity for the deer, which had been born just a few minutes back, and which was struggling on the surface of the water. He gathered it up in his arms and took it to the hermitage. He fed it with milk, and he fondled it and comforted it as a mother would. Days passed, and the deer became older. By then it had become the very life of Bharata. He became greatly attached to this living being. He who had renounced his kingdom, his wife and children and everything else, became inordinately fond of this animal. It became with him an obsession. He could not bear to let it out of his sight even for a moment. If it went out to graze, he would become worried and tell himself, "My poor child has no friends, no kinsmen, no mother, no father. He has no one except me. I am his only refuge. He trusts me completely. I cannot fail him since he has implicit faith in me. It's up to me to protect him." He would spend all his time with him. He would wander in the forest along with the deer and would carry him on his shoulders when he thought that the young animal was tired. And if he did not come back to him when evening drew near, he would be terribly worried. He would say to himself, "Will I see my beloved deer again? Perhaps a wolf or a wild hog or some other wild animal has eaten him up. The sun is about to set and still my child has not come back. Perhaps a lion has eaten it up. Perhaps a tiger is even now pursuing it." He would walk about in agony and say, "It's dangerous to leave it alone in the forest. I must go search for it." So saying, he would wander in the forest and, like one demented, call out to the deer in affectionate terms. And when he found it, he would bring it home in his arms. This affection for the deer made him forget his other duties. His daily worship of the Lord, his samadhi, when he would sit and concentrate on the form of the Lord, were all now things of the past. When he tried to worship, the deer would come in and prod him gently with his horns. And Bharata would offer the deer all the young blades of grass which he had gathered. When he sat in meditation, the form of the Lord would not come before his mind. The antics of the young deer would come before his eyes, and he would smile indulgently at the thoughts of his pet. In short, everything was now forgotten, and the deer was the only thing that mattered. He would fondle it like a mother, and he would spend hours talking to it. This was indeed a terrible state of affairs for one who had renounced the world. Days passed by, and death, which is no respecter of persons, finally drew near Bharata with the speed of a storm and entered into him like a snake would into a hole where the rat lives. Bharata fixed his dying eyes on the deer, and his last thought was of the deer. Aching for his pet, Bharata gave up his breath. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Thank you for coming. I hope you come again.